hello, and welcome to Taking to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I'm your host, JP John Paz from the Two Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me, star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
Well, John, I'm doing pretty good today. How about you?
Not bad. Can't complain. A lot of craziness going on, but that
Craziness
is,
going on everywhere.
oh, yes. Now, what's going on in the world of JPWA?
Oh, we're training very well. We're in our fourth week and did promos tonight. Everybody's doing good.
Hey, we have somebody here that's recently sent you something. He said you got it. Ibsen. Hello, Ibsen.
Oh, hey, Ibsen. Yeah, I got the package. Thank you very much. Very, very nice package. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Ibsen. Here's an interesting from Rocks. His name is Rocks. Give it 2 or 3 months. Vince will be dressing like a lady, calling himself Vanessa. It is the age we live in. Wow, he's starting off hot here.
Well, there's a good conspiracy theory. Yeah, you never know. I mean, Vanessa. Yeah,
Vanessa
I like it.
McMahon.
Yeah, right. Oh
It's
God,
Jason. Hello, Dr. Tom, Mr. John. Hello, Jason.
Jason.
Uh-oh, ATF is here. I wonder if it's going to be a Ronnie Garvin question. ATF Media. Do you think Vince McMahon will use the defense that his phone was in his pocket when he was punched by Ronnie Garvin and caused those dirty text messages? Keep in mind his hands are made of stone.
Well, that is a pretty good scenario. I mean, it could have happened. I mean, it
I wonder
very
if
well could have happened.
I wonder if they'll use the argument it wasn't Vince's number or that it was a spoofed number. It wasn't really him doing it. I
I
wonder if
don't
they'll use
know,
that.
but if any part of this is true, it's horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if any part of it, if even just a little bit, is true. So
Barbara. Hello, Dr. Tom. So good to see you. Hope you're feeling well. Sorry I'm late, Barbara says.
well, I'm doing great, Barbara. Thank you. Hope you're doing great.
Yeah, so obviously Vince McMahon resigns from TKO from the company. Obviously he couldn't stay around because there's going to be a lot of backlash after the Janelle Grant bombshell lawsuit out there against Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Pretty crazy, pretty damning. A lot of crazy text messages, a lot of crazy stuff that was said that he did, and Johnny Ace was involved in. So, man, did you see that? Did you read it all, or were you like Triple H and you did not read it all?
I read some of the stories. I sure did, and I tell you, it was a little. No, it was more than a little. It was disturbing to me, and um, when it got to be too disturbing, I stopped reading. I really did because I heard it and then I heard it from somebody else and I heard it from somebody else and I listened to somebody else say it and it's like every time I heard it, um, I couldn't figure out what defense you could use for anything like that. If a just Scoshi, if a little bit is true, it's a terrible situation, horrible.
Man, just
What do you
absolutely nuts.
yeah? What do you do with someone like that? Um, I it's not like it seems unreal, but it seems so bizarre for someone like that who has such a high profile.
Yeah,
If indeed any of that is true, you know, um, I don't know. It's bizarre.
I feel like we always have to say allegedly because if obviously lawyers speak, you don't want to
Mm.
incriminate yourself. You don't want to be like Meltzer and Alvarez talking about your brother incriminating himself and saying stuff that's not even true. And just kind of just making stuff. You can't incriminate yourself, so you have to use allegedly, of course, allegedly.
Yeah, yeah. And people have theories all the time about stuff, and they really don't know what they're talking about. So that's why allegedly, if any of these things are true, then it's a horrible deal.
pretty hard to read some of that stuff if it's true, and like the wacky, weird, nature of it. Just crazy stuff.
Right. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody's that wild and crazy. So, it's but it's just it seems like it would be in a different genre. If anything else, it would be uh I don't know. Hell, I really don't know. I don't know what to think because it has been disturbing what I've read. And when I get to that point these days, I really do stop because I don't. I've already I've got enough to be disturbed about. I don't want to be disturbed any further.
Right. Ibsen wants to know when was the last time you spoke to Vince?
Wow, 10 years ago,
Oh wow, it was
12
that
years.
long ago. So it hasn't really
Yeah.
not recent at all.
Mm. Why would I?
True. Yeah, you don't work there anymore. Why would you? Yeah.
Right. Why would I?
Barbara says, please ask Dr. Tom if Vince is right in the head. Does he have some kind of dementia? Thanks.
Well, I don't know what Vince has in his head. I mean, I really don't. But it's just obviously there's sick people in the world, so I don't know.
From Phil. What's going on, Phil? Good evening, John and Dr. Tom. Just when we thought the world couldn't get any weirder, what a week.
No, there's always room for the world to get weird. I think that's never been something we're short of. So, but it's wild when it comes out like this and things that you would never, or I don't know if you'd never think it, but why would you think it?
What do the other McMahons have to say? They can't stay quiet forever.
Well, I mean, I have to wonder. It's still Stephanie and Shane's dad, and um, I don't know how they feel about it, but I don't know. I mean, what can they say? Yeah, if what really can they say? There's not a whole lot, just if especially if it's proven to be true. And if it's proven not to be true, then they have a lot to say, I guess.
That's the only thing. If it's not true, man.
But why would this woman risk having all this scrutiny put on her and make up stories as fantastic as that and fake? What's the point behind it? Um,
I don't think you would. I don't think anybody would, but who knows?
right, right.
Yeah,
But well, yeah, I guess who knows? But at the same time, it's like she sure is putting herself out there for a lot of scrutiny,
big time. Yeah.
and yeah, and after all she's been through, uh, her parents dying, I guess, and then just things coming the way they did.
Cornette can't believe that he names the toys by wrestlers' names. Yeah, Cornette was having quite a bit of fun with some of that stuff.
Well, yeah, that goes to bizarre for me. I mean, I just if that allegedly happened, then that's even more disturbing, if you ask me.
And Cornette was like not making a joke of it, but he was in essence kind of making. But he was having a field day with some of that stuff that he was reading.
Well, as well he should, because it's so far out of the realm of reality that we think Vince would do and Vince would be like. Jim were pretty close with Vince uh, at the day at his house and at the office. I only trained him at the gym, and that's where I saw him was at the ring. And he could talk, and he could be one of the guys. He could you he could empathize, things like that, or at least appear to empathize. So when something like this came up, when I first heard it, I thought, "Are you kidding? It's a rib. What's going on?" So naming the gimmicks by the boy's name is I don't know. If that happened, that's disturbing me too. I mean, it really is.
Deeply disturb me if you're doing that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
wacky, wacky. It's crazy. Scorch. I don't like the idea of someone being convicted in the court of public opinion before all the facts have been presented. Alberto Del Rio was exonerated of more serious accusations. Yeah, that is true. Del Rio was not guilty of any of that stuff, or wasn't
Well,
proven to be guilty of any of that stuff.
I agree, and that's why I say if it's true, and this is all alleged, but um, I just find it curious that this young lady would put herself through this against a billionaire uh, without a chance in hell of winning. You know, I mean, that's what you got to think when you're going against somebody who's powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess
that's
she got a
that's
million. He was supposed to give her 3 million, never gave her the other two, and that's kind of what sparked this, I guess.
I guess, but he should have given her the other two if it was for 3 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, see, and I'm not about the disclosing all the non-disclosure stuff either, except um, both people hold up their end of the deal. I understand that would piss me off too.
Yeah, I was talking to just a lawyer friend of mine who always likes to say allegedly and stuff like that. He was saying that if this NDA thing, she really did sign an NDA and then it got leaked out, she could be even in more trouble. I know Vince is going to be obviously going to be end up in some trouble here, but she could be in some big trouble for breaking that NDA, and she might end up owing him money.
She might. I mean, she really might.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. The legal system in this country today is insane.
Do you remember the baseball player Trevor Bauer? Remember all the accusations that he was beating the girl and the Dodgers pitcher?
Uh huh.
So they went to Discovery and they went through her phone and they got videos and text messages. She was lying the whole time. None of it was true. She literally was filming herself saying, "Oh, look, he's sleeping. I'm stealing this. I'm going to get this amount of money from him. Oh, I'm going to report that he did this to me." So it has happened before where it was like insane that the person would come out and say all that stuff, and then it ended up being that Trevor Bauer didn't do any of that stuff. He was innocent.
Right. Well, it could be that bizarre. I mean, it really could be. I just question then if she's going to all these this length to pull
Yeah,
a
it better not be made
ruse,
up. Yeah, it
it
better
better
not be
not
made up.
be. Yeah.
What do you do if your students bring up the subject of Vince? How do you kindly drop it?
Let's say we're not talking about that today and move on. I mean, is there really everybody's entitled to an opinion, but when you start asking me about what do you think and what do you think about Vince, you got to understand. Uh, he's the guy who created this whole thing. He really
Yep.
did. He created this juggernaut, and all of a sudden, he has some unusual habits that are now out in the open for everyone to know about. You know, if he's guilty, he's guilty. But we don't know yet, and I don't think he'd be the first billionaire with unusual habits. I don't think he'd be the first person with unusual habits. And so when people want to talk about Vince like they know him because he's been on TV, you really don't. And it's the same thing about Bruce. I don't talk to Bruce about business because we don't have time. And he doesn't want to talk about business. When he's off business, he's got more business to talk about on the phone. So if it's going to be a call with me, we're going to talk about something else. And, because people want to know, what do you think? What do you think? Well, like I said, if just a squishy bit of this is real, it's not good. It's insane. And you're right. Vince is going to defend himself, and Vince is going to look for all the loopholes and everything he can to get out of it. No doubt. So I agree. I don't think we should. I don't think we should just persecute everybody without any real evidence yet.
Barbara said, "Will the WWE need to clean house and get rid of everybody associated with Vince McMahon?"
Maybe. Don't know what they need. They need good people there, and there's some really good people there that are still with Vince.
Do you think that Kevin Dunn was tipped off to any of this? Because he retired before any of this happened. Do you think he was tipped off?
Don't know. I wouldn't even know what to think. I wouldn't know how inside Kevin was by that time. Don't know.
To me, because somebody brought that up to me, but I think he really quit because of Mark Shapiro and TKO when they were disparaging about the production team and saying, "Oh, they're going to cut this and cut that," and the guy was running the greatest production company we've probably ever seen, and
Right.
the new owner comes in and goes, "Oh, we're cutting this." So I think that, but I was just curious if you thought maybe he had like prior knowledge or something. He was like, "I'm getting the hell out of here."
No, I don't know how deeply tied he was on the inside with those TKO guys. And
Seemed like not at all. Seemed like he didn't like
right.
them.
They were going to come in and do their own thing, and I get that too. And you're just going to say, "Ah, to hell with it," because it ain't going to be my thing now.
Yep. Magazine Retriever. A lot of the former talent who used to kiss up to Vince McMahon are now kicking him when he's down. None of these accusations have been proven. That is true. Not yet, at least.
That's true. And I agree. And none of the accusations have been proven. So we'll have to wait and see.
Frizzy Red. She sold herself for money. After that, anything goes, no matter how depraved.
Well, I guess the court will find out. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how do you defend that?
To a certain degree, she was agreeing to most of this stuff until he stopped paying her.
Right.
So, gotta kind of wonder, and obviously her parents died. She was saying, she had a lot of issues going on, but gotta wonder where her, head was at. She's Steve
Right.
Vendetta. Tom, do you think Vince harbored a deep resentment towards his dad since so many of Junior's executive decisions ran contrary to his dad's philosophy and creative approach?
I don't think he held a resentment. I think it was just the way Vince was going to run business. I don't think it had anything to do with the resentment feeling towards his dad. I just think Vince saw the territory system as an antiquated system, and he was going to take over. And cable was the new era, and he was going to take over the world, and he did. But I don't think it was because he had resentment towards his dad.
I think very opposite of his dad as far as just the way they were.
Oh, definitely opposite. Um, Vince didn't see the territory system as meaning anything. He came up in that he saw what it was, and um, he was just going to take over. You saw,
But even personality wise too, right? Don't you think the very opposite?
Sure, definitely. I mean, that's what made Vince Vince.
Because everything you hear about Senior was like, hey, if you put that in the book and he promised you something, it was guaranteed. Vince Jr. was always, oh, he promised you something. It rarely happened. It seemed like one was super based on honesty and loyalty, and Vince Jr. maybe not, maybe more cutthroat.
Well, I think Vince Jr. definitely had the killer's instinct and was going out and going to conquer no matter what. And Vince Sr. respected the boundaries of the territories and worked with the promoters. And still, even though he was the WWF, he was a member of the NWA, and they were all friends or at least acquaintances and got together at the NWA conventions and stuff like that. And I think Junior saw it as, hey, these guys can't agree on a cup of coffee. Who's going to buy coffee, much less anything else? So he just took her by the horns, and the same old wasn't going to work. So he had to come up with something new. That's what I think. And he just did it his way and lived up in that East Coast and was positioning himself to take over.
And put a lot of his dad's friends out of business.
Yeah, pretty much.
Raider Nation with the little aloha there.
Aloha.
Ibsen, the Bellas said yesterday that the situation is sad, but didn't want to mention Johnny Ace, obviously their stepfather. Yeah, that was interesting that they came out and they had this post about workplace safety, all this other stuff. John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, is their father-in-law.
What did the
Or
message
stepdad.
say? What?
Let me see if I could pull it up real quick. But it was basically workplace should be safe. They feel bad for everybody involved. They just feel horrible. It almost kind of, I don't know, like a negative message about WWE in a way. They are shocked and disheartened by everything. Shocked and disheartened by the recent allegations with members of WWE. It has been a lot to process since we found this out last week, as we just when you all did. This is something we don't stand for or condone from anybody, no matter who they are. We want all men and women, or well, actually just as women, want all women to feel safe and supported in the workplace and in their everyday lives. So nothing crazy, but just they stand with the women. They want to support the women, but not mentioning that their stepdad or whatever, however, Johnny Ace is their dad
Right.
now.
Well, I would
Not bringing that up.
imagine John and their mother are split now, haven't they?
I
I
don't
would
know.
imagine.
They had pictures together. I think it was January 1st. This is obviously pre-allegation, but I think it was January 1st. They were still together because there was pictures of the kids together with Johnny Ace and with the mom.
Huh. Well, it's out now, I guess, if this is true.
Unless maybe the mom doesn't believe it. I don't know. Or maybe they worked through it. But I just thought that was interesting. Like, man, it would have been a perfect time for a no comment or not say anything from them, considering Johnny
Right.
Ace is involved and like heavily involved. He's like the number 2 guy named. Like, seems
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems a little out of touch for them that they brought that up.
Well, again, they probably think it's a possibility. Just and even if it isn't, his name is in this lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It gets bizarre as each little incident comes out more and more.
He made no attempt to hide or cover up anything. Does he think he's above accountability? He's got away with this before.
Well, I guess it's because he, and if this alleged act happened, he might have thought he didn't need to hide or cover up anything because he might have perceived otherwise that he didn't need to.
From Dell Mountain, Janelle Grant's claims sound like something that my bipolar relatives concoct in their minds and wholeheartedly believe it's true. Mrs. Grant's psychiatric history should be fair game for the defense.
I'm sure they'll use that in the defense, no doubt.
That was one of the things that I was thinking almost immediately. Like, oh, I wonder how hard
Well,
that they'll go at her. But they're gonna. I think they're gonna go at her pretty hard with that stuff.
pretty hard, I think. Yeah, I really do.
I wonder if it's TKO's lawyers or if Jerry will be involved, or if Jerry, because Jerry had mentioned he wanted to retire at the beginning of 2024. So I bet
I
you he
think
can't retire now
no, I think Jerry McDivitt's in for the game. He's in for the fight.
because he'll. From what I've seen of his other lawyer, I feel like he's going to slice and dice them, but we'll see. Because I mean, this is pretty damning case.
Well, it is until they start peeling back stuff and making stuff fit,
Yep.
you know, and it
Yeah,
they
she's
have
going to
to have
open
a
herself up
case.
to a lot.
Yeah, sure am. Sure is.
Everything. Dell's right. Everything's going to be fair game for sure. This is, especially after releasing all those text messages.
See, and that's what makes me wonder why she's allowing this to happen if it didn't happen,
Right.
because the scrutiny she's going to get is unbelievable. And Jerry McDivitt's a pretty smart guy.
Doesn't lose too many cases.
No. So,
Hannibal, do you think Zip was one of the names of the toys? One of the toys' names?
I can only hope. No. That's a poorly timed joke. No.
Corny said 1996 was the year he spent the whole year visiting his house, writing and booking television. He says he knows the true Vince.
Well, yeah. He knew the true Vince back then. Maybe Vince has changed. And maybe this is all bullshit. Who knows?
Maybe he's got dementia. Maybe something's going on up there.
Something's going on. Again, if this is true, something definitely clicked.
Because it's not like he's in his prime here. I mean, at this point, he was, what, 75, 76 when all this was going on? It's pretty crazy to think that. Man,
2019? Yeah.
right? He's almost 80, right? Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy. That's what I mean. It's almost like a horror movie type thing.
From Steve, Tom, do you think Vince really cares if his brand of pro wrestling goes into the shitter after he's gone?
Um, I don't think he cares about the brand of pro wrestling. I think he cares about the business of pro wrestling. I think his brand, yeah, I think actually I do. I think he wants to have that legacy, and I don't think he wants it to. I don't think he wants it to go away. I don't think he wants it to die. But then again, he might be in that point in his life where he doesn't give a shit. Don't know.
I feel like for his kids and his grandkids, financially, I think he wants it to be
Right.
somewhat successful.
Yeah, I would think so too. That's who did this for.
Frizzy, why not get a regular job if she was that broke like the rest of us? Yeah, that's a good question. Why stay there?
Well, at the same time, I think it was, from my understanding, the building manager of her apartment who introduced her to Vince. She was losing her apartment. Her mom and dad had just died. She didn't have any leads on her job. And the manager of the apartment apparently introduced her to Vince. And he promised her, allegedly, he promised her a job. And you're going to make more at WWF at that time, or WWE, than she was at Walmart. So that's why. If you're offered $75,000, and she wasn't going on the road, that was in Stanford. And yes, it's expensive to live up there. I know that. But $75 grand wasn't bad. And then to bump it up to 125 or 150, it's not bad. So if she didn't know or got caught up in it, I don't know, man. Every time we even start talking about it, I get sick.
Jim Ross said it perfectly. Connecticut is an overpriced hellhole.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But I made the most of it.
Jason saying the sensationalized reporting on the whole Vince situation has me suspicious.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm still open for the argument that maybe this is not real. Maybe this is a shakedown. Don't know.
He isn't this kind of person, has a good wrestling mind, says Ibsen.
Well, I've known some people who had great wrestling minds and were pretty questionable. Let me say that. That's just my opinion.
Craig Craig Seaback. Dutch Mantel said that he has seen women get called into a room with Vince McMahon and come out 15, 20 minutes later looking like they have been traumatized. He said that they sat there staring at the floor.
Well, I honestly can't say I've seen that. So, but
Dutch
Dutch
didn't want to
has.
Dutch didn't want to ask them what happened or help them or question it. He just stared at them, watched them. What is
Well,
Dutch doing? What is
I don't know
Dutch's
what.
crazy ass doing?
I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but if he was sitting there watching the women go in the door, then maybe he knows something, or maybe he should have said something. I don't know. Now we're dealing with, what happened when, and did you see anything happen then? No, I didn't.
Yeah, maybe Dutch should have brought this up to somebody's attention way back when. Maybe who knows?
Well, it might have been beneficial, but
From Larry the Finkster, was this sort of shit that went on back in the 70s and 80s, Flair era, before cell phones?
well, I'm sure there was a lot of shit that went on back in the 70s and 80s that, before cell phones that probably did go on, but I can only testify to what I've seen.
Charlie is saying, Charlie Gerard, of course, it's all speculation at the moment. ATM at the moment, all speculation.
Oh, that's what ATM means. Yes, it is speculation ATM.
Frizzy is saying, didn't she accept the money and the gifts?
Yeah, but she didn't get paid all the money, I believe. I believe that's the contention.
Right.
So it was kind of broke. And this hadn't really been going on that long. It's only since 2019, and we're in 2024 right now. And you got to remember, this happened over the course of a couple of years. And I think whatever happened, somebody alerted people and then started digging and find out, there was a non-disclosure, but it became null and void, I guess, once he stopped making payments.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Interesting point from Frizzy. Where are the text messages from her? Because she only saw his. Where are her responses? That'll be interesting to get to once they have Discovery and everything else. What she was writing. So
Right,
that'll be a very interesting little wrinkle to this whole thing as well.
right.
That for some reason Frizzy's bringing this up, but not a lot of people are bringing that up.
Well, that's a good point. Because what was she saying? And was she part of it, or who knows, man? I mean, it's just on the surface of it, these allegations are going to put more scrutiny on her than she ever needed, ever wanted in her life.
Yep.
No doubt. How old a woman is she? Do you know?
I thought they said she was 40 or somewhere around 40. I don't think she was that old.
Hmm. Okay.
Not that old to me, anyway. Yeah, and I like half of his age, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
Please ask Dr. Tom if he needs to teach young wrestlers what to look for if promoters are unethical.
if I need to teach young wrestlers what to look for, well, pretty much you can tell the guys are unscrupulous and unethical. They don't pay. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Not paying the guys is certainly unethical. Trying to touch the divas is certainly unethical. The women wrestlers. So I think the good shows.
Yep. Yeah, one-way traffic so far. We'll see when Vince has his defense. Good coincidence with Kevin Dunn, he's saying.
Yeah.
Scorch, Eric Bischoff says he feels bad for Linda, Stephanie, and Shane. He's still close with the McMahons.
Well, I feel bad for Linda, Stephanie, and Shane too. I really do. I mean, uh, you gotta. It's still your dad. It's still your family. It's still your husband or ex-husband or whatever. They're still married. Um. So no matter what, that's not going to change. It's just if he's batshit crazy, then that's the way his life's going to end. Batshit crazy, I guess. He's always been batshit crazy. But I feel bad for them too. I really do. So what do
I
you
like that.
do?
I like that Juggernaut picture he's got there. Phil, Vince said he worshipped his dad who saved him from his life in North Carolina.
Well, no doubt. I mean, going from North Carolina to New York City is a huge culture shock. So no doubt.
And his mom and him were getting abused down there by various stepdads that she had
Right.
throughout the years.
Right.
So not a
So
good upbringing for Vince.
no. So that's why I think I can understand his chip on his shoulder and why he's so willing to prove everybody wrong.
From Jordan, do you think Michael Hayes might be on the chopping block to get fired?
I don't think so. No, I really don't. Michael's a valuable guy there.
B40, innocent until proven guilty. I hope Vince is innocent and doesn't get railroaded like Mr. Trump did, having to pay $83 million for doing nothing wrong.
Well, it's the world we live in today. Gotta remember that.
That is true, unfortunately, yes. Charlie, he came up with something new, and it was WrestleMania.
Yeah, sure did.
B40 is saying it's open season on rich white men in this country. Disgusting.
Well,
White men in general, actually, he's saying.
mm,
Dogface is saying Vince is buying feet pics. Wow, interesting. I love that picture of Joey B there. Nice.
mm. Yeah, see, people are gonna have a good time with this.
Steve saying Vince didn't grow up with his dad, and the latter didn't come back in his life till Junior was already a young adult. In the meantime, Junior's mom sexually abused him. I don't think it was his mom. I think it was the stepfather,
Mm,
Mr. Lupton or whatever his name was. Yeah,
yeah.
not the mom. She was abused as well. Andrew, amazing how everyone has said they found out in real time, like everything else, i.e., the Bella Twins, Cody Rhodes, Triple H, meaning that they didn't get advance notice. They found out when we all found out.
Well, you got to remember it was Royal Rumble weekend, and people are in a bubble. People are really focusing and busy and doing things, and a lot was going on. And so sometimes, you're not looking at news or wrestling news all day long. You've got other things going on within a 5, 6, 7 hour span sometimes where you don't have time to get on your phone to look at headlines and stuff like that. So maybe they did.
When you hear the Triple H thing that he didn't read it, do you think that's on purpose? Did he not want to read it because it's his father-in-law, grandfather's kid? Do you think that maybe it was more on purpose than people going, "Oh, you didn't read it? What a horrible answer." Maybe he didn't read it on
No,
purpose.
I think there's a couple reasons. It's 67 pages long. He's very, very busy. It is his father-in-law. He doesn't need to read it. He doesn't want to hear about it right now. He's got a big show coming up. That's how I think he's seeing it and thinking about it. And what are you going to do? People are going to ask you about it once you hear about it, but you don't have time always to sit down and read a 67-page um, lawsuit or deposition or whatever that was, because you got other things going on. You got other things to do. When did it come out? Friday?
Yeah.
So Saturday was the Rumble. Friday they're finishing up. Friday they're having meetings. Friday they're talking about business. And somebody might have said, "Oh, hey, did you hear about this with Vince?" Oh shit. Well, all right, we'll deal with it later. Got the Rumble. So I mean, I don't know that's what happened, but that's what I would assume.
Mitch Miller, allegedly stuff was going on with Johnny Ace while his wife was doing cancer treatment. And I know she got Bell's palsy too, and all that stuff
Oh,
was going on. So
well, I'm
Crazy.
sure it's not a very nice place to be in that household if they're still together.
Dogface is saying, why all the NDAs?
Because there's some party who doesn't want you to talk about it. That's why.
Digital Warfare, bring back Smoky Mountain.
Okay.
Sure. I like that idea. If Jimmy Del Rey was still alive, how would you use him at your wrestling school? Coach, trainer, something else? Wow, Jimmy Del Rey question in the midst of this. I
Yeah,
love
he'd
it.
probably be a coach. Yeah, he'd probably be a coach.
From Andrew, the cartoon meme Vinnie Mac with the toys painted like WWE superstars is hilarious. Yeah, that there was a lot of crazy stuff going on after that came out. A lot of jokes about that stuff. Pretty pretty crazy.
Mm,
People have wild imaginations. They're pretty creative nowadays, especially with
yeah,
getting those memes and stuff and gifs and all that other stuff. Pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Well, have fun because if it goes the other way, then he's going to bury everybody.
Yeah. Yep. Watch out. Dan the man, Ultimate Warrior fan for life. What's not a work is you losers still knocking a man trying to rest in peace. OWN for life. One Warrior Nation. Dan Mate. Nobody was anybody bashing the Warrior? We love the Warrior. That's your favorite
Yeah,
wrestler of all time, Dr. Tom.
my second favorite wrestler of all time,
Oh, who's the first? Dr. Jerry Graham.
of course.
Oh, nice.
Good
Phil is
guess.
saying I for some reason had a feeling with that one. He's likely had dementia for a few years from a few things that I've heard over the years. That would make sense.
Well, we all hear things. Or no, let me take that back. Some people hear things and read into it different than what it really is. So, later on in life, I don't know if it's just he's looking for something to do or whatever his deal is, but I still don't think it makes sense.
Dave Cole, doesn't the whole thing of this lawsuit center around that Vince did not pay the agreed upon settlement? Yes,
I
definitely.
believe that's true.
Yeah, if he just would have paid her the rest of the 2 million or whatever, the rest of 3 million, who knows? But
Well,
her
who
name was
knows?
leaked out before, oddly enough. So it has been leaked out there.
Well, I think this is just a continuation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From French Mime. If he didn't support Trump, the media would ignore this. Wow.
You think? No, I think this is too much to ignore. Somebody told me this was the lead story on NBC News. Well, do you know about that?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that. Wow.
Yeah. I didn't either. Somebody told me that.
I never
Maybe I'll
watched that.
find.
Never watched that
Well,
station. Dan should have never made the Self Destruction of Ultimate Warrior DVD. It's haunting whoever took part in it. You agree with that?
that's a great theory, Dan. Or
It actually might not be that far off
yeah,
if you think about it.
yeah. Well, we'll have to
I think
wait
the
and
only
see.
person that spoke positively about Warrior was Brooklyn Brawler, and he's got no issues right now. So
Yeah.
for now, anyway, that's good. Yeah.
Mm. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
B40 says can't trust the courts or the elections. Our country is done. Dunzo.
Well, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I mean, let's just get all.
Frizzy, it's just too convenient. She's broke. Gets talking to the building manager, quote unquote, who just happens to know Vince and gets her on the interview, and then she gets hired. Too convenient for Frizzy.
Well, you're allowed to be too convenient, or you're allowed to feel that way too frizzy, or whatever. But I don't know what to think.
Frankie Nordquist. Frank, what's going on? For anyone who is worried about Vince McMahon's legacy, consider that Adidas and Puma were founded by brothers who were members of the Nazi Party. I think the WWE will be okay.
Well, I think WWE will be okay too.
Wait till they hear about NASA or Project Paperclip or anything like that. Just wait till they hear about the history of the country. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on
Yeah.
behind the scenes. From ADD, a lot of sketchy stuff in the civil suit. Apparently, she was born in 1980. She's like 40. I think it's in the middle. She went to be his pay to play thing. Pay to play. He didn't pay, even though the suit is why. Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Pay to play, and he wasn't paying anymore. So
Right. Yeah. Well, then she's going to talk.
digital warfare is a good point here, and it's a little out there, but it is a good point. There was nothing fun about poop. I totally agree. If any of that stuff is true, that is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
If any of that
Yeah.
stuff is true.
Yeah. Not my forte.
From Bearcat Hampton. Look at all these weirdo sheep fans trying to victim blame and defend Vince. Vince has a long history of accusations and scumbag behavior. Can't defend Vince, according to the Bearcat.
No, but can say it has happened before, and I'm not saying it hasn't because I just don't see why anybody would put themselves through such an ordeal as this. Because your face is out there, your name is out there. Where is she going to go to work? And I think that's one of the other reasons she's probably coming out now because no, she wasn't paid the full $3 million. And where is she going to go to work? What can she do? She has no resume or none that's of recent, I guess. What did she do before?
I don't even know.
Right. So,
Neil's son is saying, I've seen one of the texts from her. She was saying that she was worried about there's Vince pics, vids he's taking of her or of them.
hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Interesting.
Well,
ADD is saying he does think Vince is pure evil.
well, there's a lot of evil out there.
Magazine, I'm not sure what he's getting at here. Says Greg Valentine's opponent should have worn a cup because he botched some ball buster moves and badly injured Rick Rude, Owen Hart, and Stu Hart. Interesting.
Hmm.
Greg Valentine out of nowhere. Talking about Vince, we're talking about Greg Valentine out of nowhere. Interesting. Let's see here. Greg, this would have been a good storyline for Mae Young character. I don't know about that. That would have been pretty out there.
Hmm.
Dave, Vince has changed. Watch the interview with Ari Emanuel regarding the accusation. Vince is like a shrunken version of his former self.
Hmm. The area manual spoke about this. No, acquiring the accusation.
Yeah, in an old interview when they were together. Interesting. I just thought Vince, I was too distracted by his weird mustache. I didn't really think
Ah,
anything. Barbara said, why did Vince get surgery to look like the president of Mexico?
he wants to be the president of Mexico.
He does look weird. Yeah. I mean, and thank God he got rid of that mustache, but that was odd. Joey Streets is saying Triple H equals willful blindness. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I did originally think to myself that Hunter had to know, and then again I go back to that bubble where sometimes you isolate yourself, and he could have just had enough events and said, "I'm not even going to fool with it." He has the power now that he can do that. So I don't know if it was willful blindness or not, or if he just kept himself in the bubble and stayed away from Vince.
Neil, he's a self-made billionaire, a globalist worst enemy.
Hmm. Well,
Barbara's talking about before your favorite wrestler. She thought it was Terry Funk.
yes.
David is talking about Vince has had sexual misconduct allegations since 1992. Before that, actually, he had one as well with Rita Chatterton, the referee, as well. And
Yeah.
there's been others too. So through the years, there's definitely been a bunch. The tanning salon, there was one. I mean, there's been a bunch throughout the years of allegations.
Well, they're about to stop, I think, or maybe not. Allegedly.
Are current wrestlers told not to comment on the scandal? I would guess yes, but Cody Rhodes did comment when asked about it. But I would guess they're probably not allowed to say too much, or maybe instructed not to say too much, just because of legalities and liability and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what they've been told.
Where was I here? Mitch. I'll be watching the Vince McMahon DVD story. Yeah, I wonder if is the Netflix documentary, is that still going to come out now? I wonder, because that was a whole Vince documentary from beginning to end.
Oh,
I wonder if they're
really?
going to. Yeah, I wonder if, or maybe it pauses and they film the rest of this. Crazy.
I don't know, man. I don't know. They're going to film Vince, the real Vince?
Well, there was a story about him. I don't know if they're going to film him or if he's going to be agreed to be interviewed, but they're going to
Oh,
supposedly they apparently they filmed all the way up to WrestleMania 38 on it. When he remember he wrestled, took that horrible stunner from Austin. So I don't know if it's ever going to come out or what's going to happen with it. Netflix was saying it's still going to come out.
hmm. Well, then have to get this chapter.
C-Man 89, Stephen P. New thinks Trump was involved since it was his condo. That's an interesting twist that I haven't never heard before,
Nice Trump was involved. Hmm.
because of the building and the building manager and
Hmm. Where was this at?
I don't
Trump
know.
has
Is
a
this,
building in New York or Connecticut? I thought that's where Vince's penthouse was in Connecticut.
yeah, I don't know. I've never heard that. That's interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily
No.
true. Frank is saying the quote unquote clean hands doctrine will likely come into play when this case goes to a trial. It makes me like Janelle Grant's. It seems to me that Janelle Grant's hands are almost as dirty as Vince McMahon.
Hmm. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. I just know don't know what the upside is to doing something like this if it's not true.
To think Vince McMahon hated people sneezing or yawning in his presence. Yeah, and then thinking of
Yeah.
some other stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Doctor Who, What, Where? Disgusting. Public nuisance. What would Bruno Sammartino or Ultimate Warrior say about Vince right now?
I think they'd say the same thing they said when they were alive. I know Bruno reconciled and Warrior reconciled, but they would say what they've always said.
Vince has no chance in hell, like his entrance song says.
Well, we'll wait and see.
Neil says Vince will bring the neck brace back. Remember that from the
Yes.
trial, from the steroid trial. He had that awesome neck brace on. He'll work the joy by playing the dementia card, or maybe he should.
Nothing would shock me.
According to Ryan, Janelle Grant has a book listed on Amazon called The Thorns of Vision. Could be a different Janelle Grant, because you remember that a few websites had put up the wrong picture of Janelle Grant too, because they got it off LinkedIn and it was a different Janelle Grant. So they had a picture of
Yeah. Is
somebody else up there, but
it,
now they have the correct one. They
is,
had originally an African American girl. Now they have up the
oh,
white girl. Yeah,
okay.
they corrected themselves, but it was crazy. They actually took somebody that said it was her that wasn't verified, and they believed them. I guess crazy, but the wrong
Yeah.
picture was up for a little bit.
Yeah. It's going to get crazy before it gets sane.
Barbara saying Vince dodged a huge bullet with the steroid scandal. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yes, you did.
Didn't he also help Snuka get off of his quote unquote charges?
Did he help Snooker get off his charges?
That's the rumor. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, rumor and innuendo then.
Steve says don't forget the Ring Boy scandal of the early '80s. Yes.
Yeah.
Terry Garvin, Mel Phillips, all those guys. Yeah. Yep. David is saying old men don't text like horny teenagers.
Okay.
Do you think Netflix will back out of the deal for Monday Night Raw, the $5 billion deal we were talking about last
No,
week?
I don't think so. I think they'll straighten this out before it gets to that point.
Frizzy saying, I told you, it's just too convenient. Random Shorts is saying, let Vince be a perv. Damn. Interesting thought.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Will Stone Cold drop him with another stunner? Maybe he'll actually sell it this time.
I don't think we're going to see Vince in a while. I think Vince is done being in the ring for a while. Could be wrong.
Catherine, has Bruce Prichard commented about this issue at all? He was very close to Vince, it seems.
I don't know if he has or hasn't.
No, but and like I was saying, for some reason, Alvarez and Meltzer had mentioned Bruce's name, but like almost like in a negative light about this. And I know Conrad came out and said, "Man, some people are putting out some accusations. You might be looking at lawsuits and stuff like that with some of these
Right.
accusations." So Conrad kind of hit the nail on the head. You can't just say stuff like that. Just
Right.
crazy. Oh, I was just speculating. Well, you can't say somebody's guilty of something. And then Ronda Rousey threw out that text about Bruce. I thought was crazy. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, if Bruce is still there, Vince is still in charge." Crazy.
Well, it's a crazy time. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, this is what Neil was saying, that Ronda Rousey said VKM, Bruce is VKM's avatar, basically running the company for him. People do what he says.
I don't believe that.
Mitch, this has been a great show. Yes, let's wind it down. Let's wrap it up. Let's talk about too much Vince tonight. But Barbara wants to know, how can you get your book, a must-have for anyone who wants to be a champion? And Vince needs a copy.
Yeah, sure it does. Well, you can go to jpwrestlingacademy.com, and the book is right there on the front page. Actually, click the training tab at the top, and then the book will come up. So that's jpwrestlingacademy.com. You can also check out training for the JPWA, jpwrestlingacademy.com.
John is saying karma coming back to get Vince in the ass. Thank you to Jason. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power. Follow Dr. Tom at Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, anything else going on in this crazy world for you?
Absolutely not. Yeah, actually, I am. I'm going to Winston-Salem this Saturday. Going to be with Stan Lane and Steve Kern. So it'll be in Winston-Salem. It's at a flea market.
That's
I don't
awesome.
remember the name. Yeah.
That
so you
is
see
awesome.
The fabulous ones in the heavenly bodies.
Yeah, that's actually a damn good idea if you're a wrestling fan, because I think Fabulous Ones are great, but the Heavenly Bodies is pretty damn awesome as well. So
Yes.
Get out of your way if you're in the area. Go see Dr. Tom and Sweet Stan. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little Taking to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.